Yes.
So we're going. We're ready. Launch.
Yeah, we are ready.
Okay. Well, welcome everyone to the impromptu, magical, thunderous, other words, Coffee Talk 17.
I hope it's seven. I've written it 17, so I hope so.
I hope so. That's what I actually have in my little thing too. A special Saturday edition of Coffee Talk, immediately preceding, or I guess is the way you'd say that, the Mayhem 2-week
Whoa.
crazy race. Is it Mayhem, by the way? You know, I just
Mayhem.
was okay.
Yes.
Okay, it's good. It's good. Well, yeah. I want to thank everyone for coming and showing up and being here. And we decided to do this because of our really my fault, I would say, where I was like, I should probably talk to Noogie about how the fact there's going to be this 1-week race. Are we going to be doing this? And then it was like, oh, and then the race started, and I whoops, and then yeah. So I do think that it's worth it to announce a little bit here, and we'll say it a couple places, other places, whatever. I'm sure Noogie is in agreement, although we haven't officially talked about 100%, that when there's going to be a big league thing, or there's a big race, or there's new leagues and stuff, the time of the podcast might change in a way that makes sense. So like, in all honesty, let's say 3.0 launches on like Friday. Let me see if I could pick a date. We should have a contest.
Yes, we should.
Friday, August 11th, 3.0 launches.
Oh.
Maybe we have the podcast immediately precede, like 2 p.m. this time, because the launch will be either an hour from now or 3 hours from now.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know. So that's obviously a little in flux, but it seems like this is actually the easiest. A little pre-hype.
Yeah.
And then
like a little podcast leading into it. Our expectations.
Yeah.
The last guess before everything unfolds.
Right. And then this gives us a nice break to do the first week or whatever hard. Yeah. And then, because really, that first week is really, in my opinion, what really matters. Then, of course, we can, take time and talk about what's gone on the first week.
Yeah.
So, no, I like, this is good. This is, I want to say, for anyone who didn't know, Noogie, this is Noogie's idea, came up with on the spot last podcast, and then we made it happen. So, I mean, my praise and applause goes to Noogie for the good idea. So, yeah, here we are. Should we tell people what the Mayhem race is? I need to read it again. It's basically lots of stuff. That's what I remember thinking.
I actually don't know exactly.
Okay, I'm going to click.
The only thing I have an idea of is it's like Tempest, but with Mayhem mods instead.
Okay, I think that's that's actually a good way to. Did they say that somewhere? I feel like I remember that being said.
I'm not sure if we can see them though on the on the map,
on the mini map,
the mini map, or the waypoint map. You can usually see all the Tempest, or you could in Tempest League. So I don't know if that applies to the Mayhem mods. So Breaches and Rogue Exiles and Invasion bosses and beyond.
The race type is voided.
Yes.
Did you know that? Okay. Yeah. I have to say that I read that last night. I didn't. I mean, I guess if you'd forced me to sit down and think and vote, would this be voided or not voided? I guess I would vote. I would say my guess would be that it would be voided. Mm-hmm. Although that always bums me out a little bit. Sure. Why do you think this has to be voided?
Because it's too prone to abuse. Because if there's anything that goes wrong or anything that they haven't foreseen that can be abused, well, then they're in the shit. I guess what did they do then?
Okay. So that's a nice little segue just to a topic before we come back to the race. Did you see this video?
Oh, of the infinite spawning beyond bosses, right?
Correct. Correct. I actually, of all the exploits that have come out,
that seemed crazy.
That first of all, it seems crazy, but I actually don't view this as bad. I mean, okay, I'm not casting like a judgment, like this netted you 7 exalts an hour, and the one where you took the leak stones out was 5. I don't care about that. I think this was an okay exploit, if you want my opinion, because it's
okay. In what sense?
You are playing PoE, you are out in the world, you are using something that they intended, right? Everything they intended, except for the fact that the skeletons caused beyond.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but that's what I'm saying. Like the leak stone thing was a bug that was around for a while. Clearly, they never worked it out. And to me,
how does that work? Do you know? I never really figured it out. I didn't watch
which part.
Why does it keep spawning infinitely? Or was it just because he was generating more souls, and then he just because it can't without doing the skeleton thing, it can't go on forever, right?
Correct. Well, correct. Because because the your minions have always counted as something they could spawn beyond. And so because he through all the methods where he reduces the skeleton to the cooldown to 0, or so just instantly killing skeletons all the time. So it spawns beyond for infinity, and I would assume you will crash the instance at some point. I don't think it.
With skeletons, though. I guess with the beyond,
I'm just saying with the stuff on the ground. Yeah. I think it'd be stuff on the ground that would crash the instance personally at some point. I don't know though. Maybe not.
How does it even drop after a certain point?
What do you mean, the stuff or the beyond or the
loot? Isn't there like a limit to how much there can be in a certain place?
Yes.
Or does it just keep showing and it just overlaps?
I don't know. It's an interesting question. I do know for a fact that this people are freaking out about like an exploit like this. Talking about a perfect storm. It requires legacy, right, to have the crazy where it's beyond of the call or something. What is it?
Well, does it require that? Because if the skeletons just work like this means it could have been around forever.
But you need the sextant. But you need the sextant where beyond, or was it Nemesis? Nemesis drops currency, and then beyond of the call to something, right?
But that's just okay. So the whole Nemesis drops currency is just from the rares, so you just get more currency that way. And then if the call is just spawning more, then that just means that you're just generating currency faster.
But right.
But if the skeletons create beyond portals, doesn't that mean that this has been around since forever, or ever since that exploit could be put in place? I don't know what triggered it, but it could have been around for several leaks.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I think it critical mass probably required leak stone.
Sure, because it becomes really exploitative once you really add everything together, obviously, because it's just generating way more.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess I do know that there was somebody who I'd had on my buddy list, and I don't remember why, and I always saw them in the same map, and it wasn't one of the 4 popular leveling maps. So I mean, I guess this is kind of an answer for some of that stuff. Why would somebody be in some random high level map? Well, it turns out because if they were doing this, that could have been what's going on. Now, I don't think there were tons of people doing it, because
no, I don't think so.
It always follows a pyramid, right? Because one dude knows about it,
and
then 2 know about it, and then maybe 4, and then it fucking blows up and it's on Reddit. So like the whole thing where like there's thousands of people doing it, never how it works. The moment you would know about it, unless you're basically the dude who discovered it, the person who's friends with them, or you randomly happen to read the bug report for them if they happen to report the bug. Like, I mean, I think it's just like when Carl edited his response about whether you could meta mod scour and keep the prefix things to create whatever item. Only like 5 people read that before he edited it, because it was up for like a minute or something like that. You know what? So it was like pure happenstance, and then it was kept quiet or whatever. So but it was interesting to see, because I mean, it's not great, of course, because we don't like exploits, but I thought it was I thought it was fine. That's kind of part of some of these games. I actually don't see, given that we operate in a league system, how that particular one was was like it's not like the worst thing ever. I mean, it probably ends up being the worst thing ever.
In terms of currency generated, it's probably the worst thing.
It's the worst. It might be the worst thing ever,
Yeah.
especially because if it's been going on for a long time and the guy's been generating all this money.
Yeah.
But I just mean in terms of you're not doing something that breaks the game. You're not duping. You're not. I mean, I'm sorry. That's creative use of game mechanics. If I ever saw something, to be perfectly honest, I mean, maybe that's and
I don't know. I don't think it's, from my stance, I don't think it's better or worse than not consuming league stones. You know that you have to kill something to, right? You have your minions, you keep killing them over and over again. That generates beyonds. That does seem as if it's not supposed to, right?
But you still have to kill the beyond mobs. You still have to.
Well, sure, but you also still have to kill whatever comes out of whatever breach you run.
Yeah. I mean, why did they give minions the ability to spawn beyond? Why do your personal minions spawn beyond portals? That has to be intended. I mean, the thing is,
I don't know whether or not it is. It's definitely harder to kind of like to say that it's hard to explain to someone playing the game that this is not something that's intended. Because you're just doing your thing with the skeletons, they keep dying, and apparently when monsters die in this map, it spawns things, and okay, I killed my things, they spawn these, okay, well that's kind of cool, you just keep doing it. Versus you just infinitely keep getting the same stone with a set amount of charges on it.
Right, where you have to do it. Yeah, you have to do it to town a specific way, or you have to pull it out at a specific time. Yeah. You know.
I'd agree on that. In terms of like how players would. It's not something I would like. I want you to keep doing it. You kind of get to a point where this is probably not good, or I should probably say this to someone, right? Like, there comes a point where you have to like kind of like think, maybe it's not intended, but it's easier to make an argument for sure about that being okay. Right. It is being taken to exploitive levels though. So
right. Why it's interesting. It's sort of a philosophical discussion, I think, because you have this whole right and wrong and what your responsibility is. Because like you think about it in the real world, let's say a bank puts $100,000 in your bank account. You have, I mean, if you read your, I used to work for a bank. If you read your thing, it says you have a responsibility to report that to the bank.
Yes.
You cannot just spend that money. Now, of course, the reverse is way more annoying to deal with. Let's say they take $2,000 out of your bank account by mistake. Getting it back, you can't, like, you informing them you shouldn't have done this does not always result in you immediately getting the money. But of course, the opposite, the money is immediately removed once you inform them, right, of that $100,000 mistake. Yeah. So really, what this comes down to is it's just arbitrarily decided because ultimately GGG is the game developer.
Yes.
Right? So they're the ones who are going to be the arbiter between right and wrong. And so they've decided that this is wrong. Okay. I totally get that. I still come back to it was designed for minions to do this. They don't have any way to check that somebody killed 10,000 skeletons in a single instance or something. Now, I guess I saw on that Reddit thread, people were talking about, well, they're not Google, they're not all this other stuff. Oh, I mean, okay.
But let's say they're a skeleton build, right? And their build revolves around suiciding minions.
Sure. Okay.
It could be. Yeah, and then literally the only thing he would be doing in the map would just be suicide minions nonstop. As fast as possible. So
yeah. So it's yeah. So okay. But what about the fact that there's no way to see that someone enters a map and leaves the map with 30x?
Yeah, like I don't know. I don't know.
I'm just saying that if they don't have the technology to detect that, which I think is okay because it's a very small. What are we talking? 5 people out of 100,000 people.
And it's not something you expect to happen in the first place. It's not an area where you think you need to have surveillance, right? You don't need to survey people with how much they leave a map with, because you don't even think that the player can generate this amount of wealth out of one map. All right, like you're not assuming that these exploits are happening, so therefore you're not looking for it.
Right. So to me, I kind of just say, well, this is just the risk. This is just what happens with stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
I really, it's weird. I mean, I understand maybe it's arbitrary, and I guess I haven't been elected the judge of Pee-wee. But if I was a judge and trying to be impartial,
Mm-hmm.
I do think the League Stone exploit, to me, that is an exploit worthy of, I don't think, a ban. Of course, depending on have you committed a felony before in the PoE raid class world. I think that the duping thing, using the stash to do that, another thing that's definitely clearly not intended, not great. And then, of course, penalty based on your history with PoE. This, on the other hand, though, I mean, again, it's not great. We should close a loophole. Absolutely. I don't think that the person should be punished. Apparently, some people got permanently banned. That's, I mean, of course, everything's.
Well, if you look at the guy who was he was blatantly bragging about the exploit he'd been using.
Okay.
Right. He was using TeamViewer, and some of the people banned are probably botting as well.
Okay, so fine. No, and that's the thing. I do think, like, I'll come back to the cute dog timeout for 2 weeks or whatever his thing was. I think that was appropriate just because he wasted GGG's time. Right. So, like, if you're doing an exploit like this and you're making it tougher on GG, like if you're just doing this thing and you're not sharing it and you're not, doing anything else wrong, I kind of think they would look at your thing and say, well, he's not botting, because I do think they can detect bots. Maybe not 100%, but
I think they're pretty good at it. Yeah.
Pretty good at it. And I think if they look at your account, if they suspect you're botting and their automatic thing doesn't flag you, if they look at it, I feel like 99.9% of the time they'll be able to know you're botting. And so they look at you and like, well, he's not botting. He's just sitting in an instance doing this thing. All right, we're gonna okay. We intended for minions to drop beyond portals, so okay, he's gonna get a 2 week.
Did they ever intend that?
It's part of the code. What do you mean? This would be like saying this. Honestly, to me, this would be like if you were caught speeding in your car because mistakenly they posted 95 miles an hour. Of course, this is more now America, whatever. 336 kilometers an hour, whatever your conversion. I'm joking. So it says 150 kilometers an hour, right? When it's supposed to say, I don't know, 100, right? And you're going 145 kilometers an hour. You're like, well, the sign said 145. What do you want me to do about it? Well, you were speeding, not according to the sign, and that was your mistake, not mine. So it's where I come back to again. So like maybe the cop would say, okay, well, we're gonna give you a warning, or we're gonna I don't know, something. But how could you possibly? I'm sure the judge, if you went
as
to
a player, you can't know that the minions there's nowhere it's stated these cannot spawn beyond.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. That's what I'm saying. I just. I don't know. It might be the worst exploit because if it's been going on for years, right? Okay, so I buy that, but I just think that I don't know. It's weird. I just think they're both, maybe both of these things are on the line of not great, but I think it falls on the side of it's more GGG's fault than the players, and maybe that's true of all of the things. But I do think that there's some. I don't know.
I think in a game like this, they want to show us trust, and they want to give us like as much of a good experience as possible. But that also, that at the same time, then as a community, if we want to have them, like with all their good customer service and all the good things they're doing, like we also have to give back in the same fashion.
Okay,
would be my response.
No, I totally agree.
Otherwise they would have to like hit harsher, and they would just change their kind of like their perspective or their stance on a lot of things, and we would just have it worse. So I think it falls on us as a community as well to. I think a lot of these players know that because they are veteran players and they do know what the game is built around, and so it becomes to a point where you as a player, well, you have to just report it in and not exploit it.
Okay. I think that's a fair perspective, and that's why he deserves something. Temp ban, some that I just don't, a permanent ban, closure of your account. But we don't know exactly what happened. GGG won't tell us. And
I don't even think that they should be like, we don't need to know everything what they do in these instances.
No. But I mean, the unfortunate part is it did come out though.
Well,
okay, the FBI stops 20 terrorist plots a year or something like that. We only know about the one where they don't stop it. The guy crashes the car. And so I understand that that's tough on GGG a little bit, because they might be stopping things all the time and we're never hearing about it.
They probably are.
But unfortunately it did come out. That is the reality.
Yeah.
So like the policy of not saying anything, and people being like, the leaks don't, they were like, look at what happened, because that was a big theme in that Reddit thread was, look what happened during the Leakstone thing. People were like, my life's over and my wife left me, and Leakstones. So I understand that perspective, but unfortunately, the cat's out of the bag. I think they should say something. I don't know. Like, this is a game. This is a game where the whole game is basically, can you exploit X? So of course it's going to attract the type of people that are going to figure this stuff out. You know what I mean? Like me, and like I've said it before, like on alpha, I like exploiting the tree. How can I be more efficient than the next guy? So it's the same thing, but I don't really waste time on finding bugs or stuff. I mean, if I see them, of course I report them, but that just doesn't overly interest me all that much. I don't know. Okay, whatever. But like, there are people on alpha who that's all they do is try to find things like this, and they find a lot of stuff. So I mean, I know that there's stuff being found and loopholes being closed. So I don't know, the fact that one gets through, I guess. I mean, I do think that maybe we still haven't. I guess that's something to at some point to talk about. But like the manifesto, I think there's good ways to talk about this without, which presents their perspective in a way that people then understand. Chris says, look, yes, we know one person who managed to make thousands of exalts.
But how much of a deal was it made on this specific instance? I don't think it was like.
Sorry, what do you mean? What do you mean? How much of a deal?
Just on Reddit in terms of how much was the outrage?
Well, the thread got locked. The thread got locked, which I don't agree with.
Why did it get locked though?
Because the moderators of the subreddit are fucking idiots.
Yeah, but
End of story.
But what is the reasoning?
Okay, well, I guess I got to find it here. I was looking for it while we were talking, but I mean, I'm paying attention to our conversation.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
I thought it would be in the top of the last week. I thought it happened in the last week.
Oh, here it is. The biggest bug.
I have it on top. Okay.
Oh, we've logged this thread as discussion has evolved into comments about RMT, calls to action, and whatnot.
Oh, here it is. Oh, yeah. Okay. It's somehow not. It's 1 day old, and it's not in the top 25.
Yeah, see again. I see it on the front page.
Okay, for me it's 28th, which is strange to me. But so the thread is locked, which I do not agree with. And to be fair to the moderators of the subreddit, I have never been a mod. I don't know what's going on. I will say that compared to some of the people who are mods, I've been on the subreddit far, far longer than them, and I do think I have a better idea somewhat of some of the things that have gone on. And so there have been some unilateral things that have gone on in the past. I'll be perfectly honest that, and again, it's not a criticism. I like Ziggy D, but I straight up said that he should resign from being a moderator because there was a big thread. He prematurely deleted it and then locked it, and then all this other stupid crap's going on. I just don't agree. That's not what Reddit is for. Your objective is to moderate in the sense of you can't have somebody saying, fuck you and whatever, horrible epithet to describe somebody's race or trying to dox people. Of course, all that should be deleted 100%. But if we're having a discussion, and I'm sorry, RMT is part of the real world, you can't stick your head in the sand and pretend and make it go away. I understand it might make some people uncomfortable, might inform people about something that they weren't, whatever. I don't know. We can't. I just can't.
Well, yeah, on the RMT section, I don't think it's something that shouldn't be discussed for sure. Though that is on them to set the rules whether or not, right? And and then we as a community have to come in and bring up the discussion whether or not this is a good thing. I do think whenever it devolves into calls to action, where this has to happen, we need to do this and that, and like roast this guy. I've seen that a little bit too much.
Sure.
Where it's been allowed to go too far.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, no, absolutely. And but the thing is, calls to action can be.
Sometimes it's just one guy. So
sure. But I just mean you can have a call to action like we need a better way to deal with bugs in PoE. Right? Okay. Would that be a call to action?
It could be.
He's using it in the sense of call to go find this guy and kill him.
Yeah, I think it's more of it becomes more personal than that. And I think that's something we should refrain from.
Right. No, absolutely. Absolutely. I do think that this is a tough subject because, unfortunately, so much of this has been offloaded onto the subreddit because GGG, and again, I like them. All right. In last week's thread, somebody made a comment about how he thought that Moors needs to take a break from PoE. and I mean, that might be true. I've taken breaks from PoE. I think everyone should take a break. You can't do anything all the time that you go insane, unless yours is, I guess. But but the thing, though, is it's like I want the game to succeed and do better. And this stuff like this, I don't think this helps, right? And then on top of that, what I perceive is a lack of clear, decisive direction from GGG about this stuff. So naming and shaming, witch hunts, all this crap. I'm sorry, where has GGG done anything to resolve any of this stuff? They've done nothing. It's 2017. This has been a problem for years and years and years. I get if it's like a new problem and GGG's busy and 3.0 is launching, but we need some answers to some of
in what instances are we talking naming and shaming? Are we talking when trading or?
Yeah, trading and scamming and all this stuff. So I'm sorry, there's it's a binary world when it comes to this stuff. You either allow it, okay, which I think is fine. It's on you to learn a lesson. If GGG is truly Ray class and we're all exiles and I can scam, I can be like, oh, that mirror is worth 3 chaos. And the person's like, okay, and I'd give me 3 chaos for it then, and whatever. I mean, I'm sorry, okay, then the person learned a lesson. But then also that person should be allowed to go to his trade thread and be like, this guy scammed me out of a mirror. And you know what? Sure. People be like, people can say, well, that's libel or something. Okay, it's a fucking video game. I don't know. So the thing is, the subreddit, in my opinion, as a person who's been here since there were 8,000 people in the subreddit or something, has really been shitted up by the fact that GGG has offloaded things that should be occurring on the official forums to Reddit. In fact, you can go look at my account. I have 2,000 posts or something.
Yeah, you used to. I remember that you were everywhere in the forums.
Everywhere. I would bet you 1,850 of those 2,000 posts occurred before 2014.
Yeah, I used to be somewhat active, just a little bit, not much, but the last few years I've rarely ever posted on the official forums.
Right. Is there any reason to, do you think?
Yeah. Well, sometimes.
Okay.
On occasion, in general, no.
Right. No, okay. So that's a fair point. It's not that there's zero. It's just it's the official forum. But I mean, the official forum now, in a lot of respects, seems to be the subreddit. Yeah. So it is a thankless job for the moderators, 100%. Yeah. And it has driven some good people away. A friend of mine, and I guess to full disclosure, he has subbed to my stream in the past, although this was long after he stopped being a moderator. Is a guy named Fenrils, who was a moderator for a very long time in the PoE subreddit. And I think he left somewhere in sort of where some of these things were going on. And I just think I don't know. I guess, unfortunately, at this point, there will never be an answer to it, because the moderators for the subreddit are either too new to really do some of the stuff, or they're too invisible. The top two mods, I think it's Oospewee and Guggenot God, have been mods, I think, as long as I've been a member of the subreddit, and I've seen them post like 5 times ever or something. They really
general post. I see them whenever there's something controversial going on.
They'll talk.
Then they're there, yeah.
And they're there. But I'm just saying,
we don't really have actual discussions on the subreddit itself, on what we want out of it. Like at least it's not something I haven't noticed, at least.
Because the like previous
larger discussions on how do we want the subreddit, where are we going forward. Right.
Well, because the two previous discussions were unmitigated disasters, basically. Well, maybe even 3 I could think of. So there's Ziggy D's thing, which involved locking of a thread, which was a very healthy discussion was happening about what do we want out of the subreddit, what do we want out of the game, what do we want. This was back when you did not have permanent allocation of loot.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of things being discussed out there that were very, very healthy. And like, okay, if somebody was calling someone a stupid fuck, well, all right, moderate that comment, not the whole thread. Then there was a time when they changed the subreddit style.
Yeah.
Which was just, was one of the worst, just absolute bomb. I mean, if that person's no longer a moderator, so there's no point. I'm not going to name and shame anybody. I know all the people who do all the things, because I guess I get informed by someone on what's going on. But and then since then, there was a period they added 4 moderators without saying anything because of the previous time when they were going to have a vote and it turned into a shit show. So then they started, like shadow government of the subreddit, and even Chris commented I made a thread and Chris was the top comment. And anyway, they added some people who, holy moly, I looked through all the 4 people that were added. One of them was like, it would be, honestly, it's like the Trump administration in America right now with some of the people they nominate. Like they nominate someone to be, Secretary of Women, and they didn't do like a Google search and find out that he raped his wife 5 years ago or something. Like there was a person who was a moderator to the subreddit for about a week who had some of the most insane stuff on their their account. I was like, what? And then of course they were removed, and I understand, but it was just an example of like what was going on. And so I think that we're in this weird spot where they're like doing things in the background, and again, it's a thankless job. It's very, very tough, but I just think, I don't know. I'm sorry. Like, I understand we don't want to talk about RMT, but unfortunately it is a part of life. It is something that's going to come up. Yeah. And instead of being like, well, okay, this is the threat, like, instead of them locking it, I would prefer them to say, okay, this is the, which of course they do when the servers go down. They pick a thread. They're like, this is the winner, of some meme.
Yeah, and then this becomes the discussion thread, and we have this discussion right here, right now.
Right here, right now. It's all continued here. You must be civil. Even saying something like, our tolerance in this thread is 0 compared to other threads, where we let people get away with some stuff as long as it doesn't get out of hand. We make a judgment call. This particular thread, where we're going to contain everything here, there can be 0 fucking rent. Can't link to bugs, link to bots or programs or whatever, but we can have a frank discussion about some of these things. So I still come back to they are, unless they change the game, this will always be a part of life. RMT, JSP, botting, exploits, because the game's popular.
Oh sure,
right? So
any popular game will have
any popular.
Like whenever there's any money to be made, there's going to be people trying to make money off it. That's just how it is.
Right. So, I do think, I gotta say, I'm getting to the point now where I never, ever, ever thought that I could ever be banned for something, because I don't do anything wrong. But
in
PoE, but I could see myself doing that skeleton thing 100%. If I had discovered that, I would have been like, holy shit, this is awesome. Now,
you would have
maybe I would have made a YouTube. I would have reported it and made a YouTube video.
Yes.
But I could see them banning me for doing that. I could see them doing it. I'm just saying, because I would exploit it to gain YouTube subscribers, right? Everyone has a personal interest that they and understanding that humans, you have to be self-interested or you wouldn't eat or you wouldn't breathe or you wouldn't anything, right? So this is a fundamental part of our nature. It's this stuff's going to go on. So
but
punishing
you're
people
also
for that.
I feel like you're assuming that the way the people have been exploiting it, like these are like just some small snowflakes just trying it out a little bit, or
I don't think that at all. I think this is like a massive. This would be like
but they're intentionally keeping it to themselves and trying to like not be seen, and I think there is a line there to where you're holding back information when you know that it's not in the best interest of the game, whereas you would bring it to the forefront, which is a big deal.
Okay, but how are they hurting GGG? Because like the duping exploit stuff, that hurts the server because they're crashing instances.
Yes, but you're also...
This is why I'm saying I'm saying it's a gray area, right? It's not... I don't think it's.
But you're gaining a huge unfair. That's like saying that RMTing is not hurting anything either.
Well, okay. So then here we can have a discussion about that. I think that it's not great. I wish it wasn't a part of the game, but I also, at the end of the day, think that stuff is the way it is because of the influence of that market. I mean, there is a reason why exalts fluctuate in the prices that they do. Okay, yeah. I mean, there's public perception and panic, and then also what's going on over there. All these things come together in the stew. So, I don't know.
You can have a big effect on the actual on what goes on, and just the player experience because of what you're doing will change.
Okay. You're saying the person who's exploiting or the person who is...
because they get an advantage and they can use that in all sorts of ways and...
Right.
I don't know. They just have a thing that nobody else has. Like obviously that you can find a build, like a good build or whatever, but...
Right. So how is what they're doing any different than, max block, phase acrobatic... something cannot die.
It's just something that it's so obviously taken to a level, and you can't not know at a certain point that this is not how it's not supposed to be.
No, okay, I agree with that, but that's what I'm saying. But you see, this is where I get back to. I think in this particular instance, you can know what you're doing is wrong. Okay, in the sense of a reasonable person. Right, making a reasonable judgment on what is a reasonable amount of currency or effort to reward ratio would understand that this is out of whack.
Yes,
I concede that point. But on the other hand, you can see where you can make that argument for other things that operate maybe not to the scale of this thing, but again, my block build could AFK on its Siri.
Well.
And I would die. I mean, it was hardcore, so it would be stupid to do that. But I would die. When I was thinking about the math on it, it was like, I don't remember. It was so almost impossible for me to die. So it's like, whatever, 1 in 100 or 1 in 1,000. I mean, to me, that seems like an exploit. When it was supposed to be a boss, it was like impossible to do at the time because people didn't have a DPS. I just saying you can see where there's things that are not the same, but they're in the same vein. And that's sort of the point of the game. And I don't know. Again, I come back to, I agree it's wrong. I just don't know that I agree with the fact that we don't know what the punishment is. There's no sort of, I don't know. I guess there is no review process because GGG ultimately is the final arbiter. They're judge, jury, and executioner. I get all that stuff. I just think we're entering a point where I don't know. This stuff's going to come up.
Sure.
And I don't know. I don't like the fact also, I understand it's down from a business standpoint. If you have supporter titles, you're more likely to keep your account. In fact, I think you do keep. You might lose your account, but you keep your titles or whatever.
I don't know.
Right?
Unless you actually have, that's all speculation.
I guess they got name change then, at least. I know several people who were caught cheating and they got name changes.
Yeah, but has it happened to someone who's not been has this ever happened to someone who's not a supporter, who just plays the game a lot?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, I guess there's no way to know that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just kind of a bold claim to make, I would say.
Okay. Well, wait a minute. It's a bold claim to say it's happening because we know it's happening, but the thing is,
but if it happens to someone who doesn't have a supporter pack, well, is there really favoritism going on here?
Well, I mean, I think yes, but it might be appropriate favoritism. Like, maybe there's no way that they can realistically be like, you lose access to your MTX.
Mm-hmm.
You lose access to your account, that account with those characters and stuff, right? Because that's something you generate in the game, and you lost your right to that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe you can't lose the right to all your other stuff because you would ask for a refund or something. I don't know. I mean, there could be a legal reason why they do it the way they do it. So yeah. Anyway, I'm not really sympathetic, but I also think that sometimes I really just wish there was more. It's weird to say more transparency because I think there's this whole.
I think clearer lines is a better way of putting it. Just having some clear lines of some of these things.
Sure.
Because they could have all the transparency in the world, but if they don't have clear lines, like behind that, if everything is run on a case by case, well, then you can't have transparency on it because then it's just, well, we run it on a case by case basis. Well, what does that mean? Well, we'll decide when we see it, right? So even if they have full transparency, if that is their policy, well, then that still doesn't give us anything in terms of, well, what is the lines here that we can either cross or not cross?
Right. Like, would you say that the ghost busting, or what was it called? Vacuum ghosting? What was the thing called where you cyclone with zero damage?
Was that ghost busting? I think it was ghost busting, yeah.
Okay. Would you say that's an exploit?
No.
I mean, it seems like it worked almost the same way as the fucking Minion Beyond thing. Right?
I think it comes down to the fact that you're generating portals in a mechanic that was never intended. I do think that they understood that, well, you can drag things together. We have all these things, and eventually people will see how many they can put together and all of this and that, and then they add the Empyrean gloves. Someone has to have thought, well, then you can just suck everything together and then put 1 and 1, 2, and then voila, everything explodes for a loot, and it's just too much. It's just too much.
But I think you're giving them too much credit. I don't think they knew. And I'm not saying that they're stupid. Far from it. But they're ultimately, not to bring up maybe a sore subject, but it's like the Xbox thing. There's limited resources, right? Mm-hmm. It just, by definition, there's limited resources for things. The smart people at GGG, if all they had to do was find bugs or exploits like this, I think they could find a bunch of them. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, they're more worried about, does the game crash? Does the game install on Windows 7? Or, does the, you know what I mean? So like they're worried about things. Yeah. So I think that they know that there's going to be things like this that crop up, and then they make the decision, like you're saying, case by case, which I think is okay. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, the ghost things, very similar to this. I'm trying to think if what's some of the other ones. There've got to been a couple other things where, multi-boxing. Right? Yeah. Multi-boxing, there was a period of time where multi-boxing, I was like, well, why would you be multi-boxing? Well, it turns out all levels of rares gave you a chaos, so people were multi-boxing.
Can you multi-box anymore? Is that allowed at all? I don't see anyone doing it, or is it just not worth your time?
I think because of the way they've changed the game, it becomes less and less worth your time. Because back then, the best way to get quantity was other people. And now they shifted quantity. I don't know. They've shifted it around a bit. I mean, I think it's probably still profitable. Mm-hmm. But I mean, they also made it so where it's only 2 instances of PoE for each computer. That's the rule. Of course, you can get around that if you have, I think you have like a Linux computer, and then you can have a couple of virtual machines. So you could have, whatever. I mean, of course, I don't want to get too technical because I think this is some of the actual exploiting goes on with botting and stuff. But they may, it's just part of whatever. But I mean, they were like, oh yeah, people can multi-box, and then it's like, oh, every rare that drops from normal vol is you can turn into a chaos.
Yes.
And of course, no one's going to ID that because they're all worthless by definition. So then they're just minting chaos. And okay, whoops, we got to make it 60 for chaos and 75 for regals. And then there was because then there was, I don't know if it was tag. I mean, there's been a couple of these things that have come up, and so I just
Well,
I just wish.
Is it really anything different than? Now we have like all the sextant, and then you put on Abyssgos, and you do double beyond, and it's at some point it's just kind of self-sustaining, and I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So, but anyway, to put a cap on, I do wish we had talk about, to me, a perfect place to have a manifesto is something like this. Yeah. Not, super stash sale or whatever the last honestly stupid manifesto that they had. They have had a couple of ones that made me go, "How is this a manifesto?" But anyway.
No, I think it could be it. I think with all the instances we had lately on these things, and especially with so many new players coming in, I think the most important thing for me is that whenever new players coming into the game, and especially they go on Reddit, and what they see is these posts blowing up with X thing being exploited for so and so, and I made billions, then they're going to come in and assume, well, is this like a thing that happens a lot? Is this just going to be an exploiter's paradise? And maybe I don't really want to partake in that. And so I think it kind of puts a stain on the game in a sense. And that's also why I feel like it's so important that whoever does these kind of things, that there has to be a consequence, because it does put a stain on the game.
Oh, absolutely. No. I never said there shouldn't be any consequences. But I mean, this goes back to, I think, a nice point, which I think you just made, Noogie, was that instead of hiding the thread or locking comments or something like that, having a mod have a sticky comment at the top talking about how, listen.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Path of Exile is a game that changes every 3 months, right? So that means that interaction between a game mechanic that was introduced in 2013 and a game mechanic that was introduced in 2017 can sometimes produce unexpected results.
Yes.
In general, once every 2 leagues or, once a league, there will be something that a very small amount of people will know about, and it will, seems like it's the end of the world. It is not, will not change your gameplay, will not change anything else. It does get patched. And then, by the way, the league ends in a month, and then we move on to the next thing, and that whole exploit is gone. So it changes absolutely nothing. But again, because it's like kept in the dark and all this stuff, and people might find it and they're like, what's going on? Instead of being very upfront about, here's what's going on, here's the stuff, here's solution, here are the facts, and then people go, okay, I mean, anyone who plays computer games has to know there's going to be bugs and exploits.
Oh, sure.
So, anyway, I that's fine.
Let's move on to the more present thing.
Yes, we ended up talking about that for a long time.
Yeah,
but that's okay.
Yeah,
what are you going to play for this 2-week race?
I think so. First, I had my eyes on Inquisitor, but then I started realizing that the only thing I want to play with Inquisitor is Hrimburn Frostbolt, and getting 2 of those jewels plus the Hrimburn. So prophecies are going to be real hard to get. Like especially specific prophecies, because you might get a prophecy here and there for X unique, but if you need a prophecy unique, where it's like one specific one, it becomes really, really difficult. I could go with a route where I went 3 dragons, which also converts, so it's the helmet instead. But then there's all the issues of shocking and how do I set that up in a good way, and it just doesn't. It's not as appealing. Then I thought about Hierophant, and then maybe just going totems, because if I'm not relying on the, like, just cutting kind of down, since I'm solo self-found, I want to cut down on the kind of the needed, like the things I need to solve the puzzle of my build. So I don't want to have the Hrimburn gloves, but I'm okay with maybe finding either 2 freeze pulse jewels or 2 frostball jewels and go with either of those and then go totem with that. And that could be pretty cool. Though I'm not really too happy about the leveling prospect of it and that kind of stuff and having to flame blast for so long. So I'm kind of going away from that. And now I have my eyes on Raider and just going with either some ice shot lightning arrow conversion early on and then getting the Howa gloves eventually, because there's going to be breaches everywhere. So breach uniques, especially the more common ones, and the claws are actually pretty common. I found loads of them. Yeah, so that shouldn't be an issue. So voila, that's going to be the build I'm going to be working for or towards.
Okay.
What about you?
Well, I was really I'm going to do solo self-found.
Okay.
So
nice.
I think this is the perfect league to foray into that. Unfortunately, I know it's weird. I don't think I'm someone who gives into peer pressure. On the other hand, I do care when people in my stream go, "Oh, not this shit again," which I feel bad about. But I mean, to me, if doing solo self-found, I'd be very interested in doing a Sunder one-hand block build of some kind, because I think it'd be very tough to make that work. Solo self-found and like have an ever-changing sort of like, oh, I found X and like, wow, I can you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's something to be done there with that. I don't want to play a caster. Okay. That's the only thing I know, because, well, okay, I guess things can always change, but I do feel like, how would you beat Flame Blast as a caster in terms of solo self-found, in terms of you would just be playing that for a while, like till 92 or 91 or something like that. Yeah. I feel like, am I wrong?
Transition into Wall Spark or Wall Fireball, and then you go that way.
Yeah, so if you really wanted to be efficient and do the thing, and now I haven't played either Wall Spark or Wall Fireball, so I have it in my quiver to pull out, I guess, if it really wanted to, but I really don't want to. And I think that, I do think that for Melee right now, Sunder is so strong for the overwhelmed with mobs thing.
Yeah, it's
that's
very
kind
good
of
for
what
that.
I feel like.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It does lag on the single target though.
It does, 100%. It does. So I don't know what I would do in terms of.
I do think you could go all the way with Thunder though, especially in a league like this. I do think so. I think that's probably fine.
And then there's just so many different ways you can, if you find a Bringer of Rain, or you find, I'm trying to think what else is, obviously the Surrender would be great to find. Yeah. I've never found one, so that would
Varnastra, can't you find that as well?
Right, Varnastra, oh my god, that would be obviously fucking,
are there
bingo.
Any good breach things you could go for?
Yeah, the Surrender.
Yeah, the shield. What about weapons? Maybe not. Any good weapons?
I think for melee, is there a melee weapon besides the axe? I don't think so.
Nah, maybe not. Maybe not.
I guess there's the claw. There's the claw, but you can't sunder with the claw. No. So it's a. I guess it's a thing. I actually don't think I ever played Cyclone as my main build either. Okay. But I don't
not
really
a good league to do it in.
Yeah, I would have said this was not.
After the AoE changes and nothing happening to Cyclone, it's not something I would recommend anyone doing.
Yeah,
like except for except for the Nagahamu how Takuaha.
Yeah, the fire thing.
The fire, the two-hand axe. Right. Because that also has the balls that fly out, so you have like even more coverage and
balls. Sorry, keep going. Sorry.
But yeah, I think that's one of the few Cyclone builds that I would probably do, and you can't really rely on getting a serious disfavor either. So.
Oh right, no, of course not. No. Yeah, because. Do you think that's something? Because I've read that I haven't actually played Cyclone since the change. Is it really, really bad?
Yeah, I don't know. The AoE is not great. Okay.
It's it was an interesting thing to me why they would. Again, I come back to they do some things that I'm always like, was Cyclone that OP? What was so OP about it? That
I don't think it was targeted too much against Cyclone though. I think they just underappreciated the importance of having at least decent AoE in some of the skills.
Okay, right.
Like look at something like Detonate Dead and Blade Flurry and Cyclone. They're falling. They fall very fast out of favor the moment they don't have at least a certain amount of AOE. That there's like a threshold to where you have to be able to at least get there, and then it feels good. It just feels nice. But as long as it's just still in like this, you have to like move all the time or reposition all the time and all these kind of things, and it just becomes annoying.
Well, and it was funny because I distinctly remember, I think this was before our first podcast.
Okay.
Though I don't remember for sure when the AOE changes happened.
Mm-hmm.
And Nugi and I were talking on Discord, I think about, man, we were talking about topics to talk about and things that were happening in the game and, all this stuff. And you were freaking out a little bit about the AOE changes. And I remember saying to myself, well, I mean, of course it's a big deal because AOE is so important. But then you showed me that website that had the like actual the lines.
Yeah.
Right as you plugged things in.
Yes.
And so you could see where it was like, oh, okay. But then the third and the fourth thing you added in made the circle go, whoa, and then the whole screen.
Yes.
So you could see, okay, I could see why this is a problem. But then I remember looking at it being like, wow, that means that currently a lot of these AoE skills are really, really have such a tiny area.
Yeah.
To the point, like you're saying, with Blade, Vortex, and whatever. So, I mean, I wonder if they're going to, maybe for 3.0, some of those things will get, a 10% buff to their base AoE or something.
Base range is something that helps a lot on this more than, I don't think, because just stacking AoE just will not really do anything. It's going to feel real bad. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. They can buff the base where it really is, so that, again, picking up the one, you're near Templar and you pick up the AoE node because you're near it. Mm-hmm. It gives you damage and it gives you some AoE. Mm-hmm. Sure, why not? It's always helpful to some degree, but you can't stack it. You don't want to put AoE gem in. I would love if they would add, like, for some of the skills, to say they add every 7 levels. And the 7 levels are important because that becomes 7, 14, 21.
Right.
So that would actually, for a lot of these melee skills, you don't really have much of an incentive of hitting the 21. But if it gives you +1 AoE, then all of a sudden this chase after that one gem becomes a lot more fun. So
that's a great idea. That's a great idea.
At least that's one way of adding a little bit of flavor to some of these melee skills.
Sure, especially because like at Series X, I guess the +2 on its Series X is really for the supports. But it is funny how it does feel like there's a bunch of melee weapons that have plus gem levels, and they just do. What is there is no point of that. It's all about the weapon DPS. Yeah. Okay, that's a really good. I like that idea a lot. So I guess Cyclone is out. I actually had been wanting to make a Cyclone character, from the start, but it seems like I did a little reading and was like, okay, well, this seems like a no. And so I don't really know I couldn't really think of what other melee I'd want to play if I wanted to play a melee, specifically trying to avoid playing a caster.
Okay. Well, there's the only I can really think of that are like really good are like it is Sunder, the one version of maybe Cyclone still with the Yanks. Blade Flurry is still okay. Like it's not bad. It's still okay. It adds a lot of punch. There's a lot of damage in there, so that's good. If you have a GG weapon, Spectral Throw is always that's a good choice. With the range you can get and all that, and you can easily get to Ranger and take the one in Duelist. Since you're a Fizz,
so
you are going to stay Fizz, right? Because you're going to be Gladiator, so you're going to be doing the bleed.
Yeah.
Earthquake is still okay.
Earthquake. I mean, Earthquake is the other option. So here, interesting. Just a little.
Okay.
Little thing. No, staying on this topic because I never had considered it, but in the thread talking about this race, people were talking about how the fact, what if you don't choose an ascendancy and you wait until it's a 2-week race, so I guess lots of people hit 100, so you're 99.9 before you choose any ascendancy points. You pick one that's no one's playing. And then you ding 100 and you win that thing.
You're gonna be hard pressed to
keep up. You think?
Yeah, without an ascendancy. 200. Oh, it's gonna be feeling so poor. Oh man, I would not be I don't want to be the guy not running with an ascendancy for that long.
Okay. It does feel like there's almost always one person doing it, though.
I would say, if anything, go something either Marauder or Trickster. Or no, Marauder or Shadow. And keep your options open. And then you either decide Trickster or Saboteur. Or decide Juggernaut or... Actually, I think Chieftain is probably going to be somewhat contested. But Berserker is a dangerous thing to pick, because you take a lot of damage. So it could be an option. You could get lucky and just jump in there. What about Champion, and what's the other thing you have down there? Oh, that's a tough one.
Slayer. You're talking about
Slayer and Gladiator are going to be highly contested.
Yep.
Yeah, so there's only Champion. So if you want to go for the easy one, I already know a few people who are going Champion because it's the easy one. It might be the hard one because they do because a lot of people will
think
just
it's
take
easy.
Yeah. Some of the better racers are like, well, I'm just going to take this easy one, and then two of the good racers pick the same thing, and then, well, oh fuck, now I have to compete against that guy.
Right. No, I like the idea of doing. If I'm going to do solo self-found, I'd like to do. I think melee, make it the full true challenge, not solo self-found. All I have to do is pray I get a tabula drop, or even solo self-found. If you're a caster, it's not that bad farming up hubris cards. I almost would farm hubris cards. Aqueduct. Get to Aqueduct and stay there from 60 to 70.
Humility. Hubris is the unique ring.
Sorry.
Humility is the tabula rasa.
Yes. Sorry, humility. Pardon me with our 500 divination card sets. But I mean, I did it the first time I think they introduced divination cards. I just sat in Aqueduct and farmed it. And I think they made it easier since then to farm.
Especially now. And this is actually a point for anyone who's participating in this race. One of the best ways of farming anything is whenever there's breach. It adds a ton of quantity to those zones. So if you're specifically farming for cards, do it when there's breaches on there. Would be one of my key things to suggest.
Okay.
And look.
That's the other thing. I want to
Spider
make
Forest with the Headhunter as well.
Right. I want to make a build that can deal with breach as soon as possible, because I feel like that's
important. It's very important. I think.
Yeah.
Because it also gives maps. It's one of the few that actually gives maps. Invasion is probably not a lot. But there's a lot of invasion bosses, so maybe they give a little. Rogue Exiles don't give, and Beyond does not either.
No.
Boxes will give. Is there ambush in there?
Yes, I believe it's in strong boxes. Let's see.
Okay, so we should be rolling in maps though. Also a thing to know.
There's 5 types: rogues, spirits, invaders, strong boxes, breaches. Also, Beyond doesn't exist.
Oh, maybe not. Interesting.
Oh, maybe because Beyond was blowing up for something like this. If there's a million mobs, you're blowing up the server or whatever.
Yeah, it could be.
Of course, is this Legacy though?
I don't think so. I don't think there's any stones here. There's no mention of Legacy. It would be Legacy Mayhem then, because the previous one was specified as Legacy.
Right.
So
okay,
I don't think so.
So you can't get any real stupid Beyond bullshit going on then, besides putting Beyond on the map.
Possibly not. Well, you can get breaches with 1 billion breaches, and then you roll double Beyond on that map, and that's probably going to be pretty stupid.
Yeah. Yep.
You're already dying from it, I see.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, so I guess we'll have to see. I mean, maybe Earthquake really is the better solution for that stuff, since it's the 360. I don't know.
But then you have to run in and all that. Yeah. And I think Sunder is I think Sunder is probably going to be good. You get a good fall link, whatever, like especially in the beginning, like Totem to help you out on single target, and you're fine. Yeah.
I really wish that they would. It's so funny that I really do enjoy Breach. I think Breach is the best, and I fucking hate Esh breaches.
That's a good thing, though. There has to be some.
Has to be something, yeah. I just don't like that you can if you run around to the left side of the breach and then run back to the right, and then all of a sudden there's a ball on you and it's doing 1 bajillion damage. So
well, you're gonna be playing one of the better builds for that though, with the spell block.
I guess. Well, we hopefully yes, playing that.
It helps a lot. And you can always run a topaz flask. People are I want to run these specific DPS flasks, and then they start complaining about breaches because we're dying to lightning. Well, put on a topaz. How about that?
True.
No,
True.
but I want my damage. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
of course, me,
it's not the worst.
People look at my bars when I'm playing these characters, and they're always. I think people. It's so funny how I've really never changed. 2 health pots, 1 quicksilver, 2 granites.
You're madman.
Whatever.
2 health pots. I don't
2
know
health
what
pots.
you're thinking. That's crazy. That's crazy talk.
It's crazy talk. Yeah.
And running all a silver flask and a diamond flask and another DPS flask and a quicksilver and.
Yeah, and people are like, Moors, why are you running 2 health pots? And I say, oh, did you want a link to my death compilation on my YouTube? Because I don't have one. So that's why I've got 2 health pots. Okay. There you go. Right. It's a little ice burn. Ice burn for some of the people out there. No, I mean, it's interesting. It is.
I think the counter argument there is why you're not playing CI though.
I've played CI. CI is a joke. My God, I would me on a CI character. Are you fucking serious? It's like the biggest. I'm never in danger. I have the Frostblades character. It's the biggest like Lamau, and then I've made the ED character to 91.
It's your mistake. Why do you have 2 health potions to begin with?
Because I'm playing life. Is what you're saying?
Why would you do that to yourself?
Well, because I intend to play the game the way it was intended to be played, not this whole 40,000 ES crap. But I do want to say it's interesting. I was reflecting on it a little bit.
Okay,
that is the positive side to the flask thing.
What is
right? You have a lot of choices to the point where you're like you have a problem. Right? If people could have 10 flask slots, they would. Of course,
for sure.
That is also the greatest problem with the system itself. That how the fuck I
have all these things I want, but I can't have it all.
Right, so that part's good, but then the bad part is you can still have 5 of them depending on your build, and that seems a little stupid. So, but it'd be interesting to see if you're playing solo self-found, what's the easiest flask to farm up of the OP flasks? Itsiri? Yeah, okay. So you just have to farm up an Itsiri, and then, I don't know about Sunder Itsiri, but I guess it's probably doable.
What do you go instead of Sunder? Blade Flurry, maybe? Just Blade Flurry them down if you're one hand anyways. Well, I guess you have to use maybe Earthquake. I don't know. I don't know what's the best one after that. Maybe you spec into Double Totem just for a little while and you just kill it with War Chiefs.
Right.
And you're good to go.
Right.
It's probably pretty easy.
Right. You can't respect your ascendancy in this class, in this race. So if that's what you say,
you can just respec into totems.
Oh, okay. You meant Ancestral War Chief. Okay.
Yeah.
Or what's Chieftain is the one? Okay, whatever. It's one that I refuse to play, so I don't even know the name. So that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I was actually thinking about I've never played a bow character.
Huh.
But I don't know if this is the time to start that. So that might be
good if you can get the gear.
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming that's true of most of those.
Yeah, but they're exceptionally good once you get the gear. They have so much damage and so many good things in there.
What's the best bow build, would you say right now? Is it going to be eye shot something? Conversion? Whatever, like you were doing? Or
probably poison.
Okay.
Like if you're really insisting on going bow, I think poison is just so crazy strong that it's probably going to be the best.
So what is poison? Poison lightning arrow or something? Or you mean poison like PA?
No, I mean like tornado shot or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Barrage with I don't know. I guess lightning arrow. Do people do lightning arrow? You can. Voltaxic is really strong still, actually, for that.
Okay.
And barrage is just silly. If you get any of the tools for it, it becomes absolutely crazy how much damage you do. Okay. But it takes a little more, and I don't know. It might some of the more like conversion builds might be a little harder to get going in a short league like this. Also because bow builds benefit so much from all the conversion stuff and also flasks that it's a little harder to get rocking than other builds. They're more reliant on gear, but they scale really well with it. Right.
Well, yeah, like the Frostblades character, like I said, I copied in Valesco's Frostblades guy. And sometimes I'm in Dried Lake. I mean, character's only 75, but I'm in Dried Lake. I'm killing something. It's like not going that great. I press my Taste of Hate, and the whole screen dies basically. So, especially because you're Pathfinder, so whatever that note is, where it's like press a flask, and your character, gains 75 levels or whatever the hell that stupid acidity is. So, yeah, okay. Yeah, it's interesting. I hadn't really considered the fact that at Siri, if you want to get one sort of flask to deal, like your oh shit flask to blow stuff up, at Siri is a good, but for melee, it's Taste of Hate. So I don't even know. My phone? Okay, that's hilarious. My phone thought I said Siri and not at Siri. So it started listening. It was like, what do you want? Yeah, but so you want Taste of Hate. There is a taste. It's a 9-card set, right? For Taste of Hate?
Yes, and I think it's in core.
Okay.
And the
Hunger.
Yeah. And the Malachi's era equivalent.
Oh, I see. So Harvest, Belly of the Beast 1, Belly of the Beast 2. So core, Malformation, Phantasmagoria.
Yeah, so that's not the worst. Phantasmagoria is a pretty good map to run, and
that's like is that a 6 or whatever right now?
Yeah,
it used to be a 4.
Yeah. And any of these, if you get breaches in any of this, you just go and farm for a while, and then there you go, get your flask. It could definitely be a worthwhile investment for I would say for your character.
Yeah, well, maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe go try to farm this map for a while.
Like if you get it early, it's worth it. Because it's such a huge power boost, and you probably get other good stuff anyways. Like XP is not the biggest deal early on to accumulate. It's more about accumulating the currency, accumulating the sextants, finding the biscos, and finding the flasks and all that. That's going to be the thing. And then you kind of like, you take that and you put that into your mapping adventure, and then you go.
Right.
So do you know who's playing?
Offhand, I don't know offhand.
Let's see. So there is Havoc and Raze and Sis and not Steel, I think.
Interesting.
But I'm not sure. I heard through the grapevine that he would not be able to attend, but I don't know if it's changed. So I'm not entirely sure.
Are these people doing solo self-found? That was what you're saying?
I think so.
Okay. It's interesting. It's like
a lot of people playing.
Yeah, and so to me that makes it actually very compelling then to do the solo self-found. I like that aspect. I understand people. I'm not judging it. It's just for me, I would never want to do it at the start of a league that was a full 3-month league. But I like it as this sort of special event. I like that it was added for stuff like this, because I find that
I think it's really nice that they added it here.
Yeah. This sounds like it could be a lot of fun. I could see myself. I don't know. It's so tough for me to know whether I'm going to like something with PoE at this point, whether I'll like it or not. Okay. I have to be totally honest about that, because.
Any things that took you by surprise recently?
Well, Legacy. I thought Legacy was going to be trash, but I actually ended up. Just because I thought the stash management thing would be so overwhelming from the stones, and it definitely is. Okay, I do not like that aspect, but it was fun enough that I was able to, sort of deal with that.
Yeah, there was okay.
There was enough offsetting things, so I was like, okay. I just think it's so tough for me to know. Besides starting of the league, I'll enjoy that, because there's all the disparate things. There's the race, there's the economy stuff, there's maybe get lucky finding something really cool early in the league. All that stuff comes together.
Like a headhunter.
Right, like a headhunter, exactly. All that stuff coming together that's always exciting to me. Versus something like this, solo self-found, I definitely am that person where if I go farm something for like, let's say to get the Taste of Hate card, and I get the 6 cards, and then I spend 3 days, I don't find another card, I'd just be like, okay, we tried, and
yeah.
I understand other people want to push through all that stuff. I just feel like I've played so much PoE in my life that my desire to doing a game mode that's not my preferred thing. That's what I mean. Doing something that's not my preferred version of the game. I'll just be like, all right, I fold. That's it. I'm done. So I'm very excited to see what this is like.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think I've gotten used to Legacy a little bit.
Okay.
which I guess that's going to go away.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It is. So I think that's appropriate, but I'm glad that at least breaches are in, because I think,
Yeah.
I do think I think invasion is a little boring at this point. I don't know what you think.
With invasion, boss is not actually providing with a real challenge, then yeah, they're not really that scary.
No,
There's a few of them that are, but
for sure.
Yeah. They can be though if you go really high on the map mods. Like once you add enough dangerous stuff,
I guess that's true.
They become pretty dangerous.
Right.
But then maybe just don't run the hard maps at that point. So it's they're pretty easy to circumvent, right? You just run the fluffy stuff whenever they're on there. If you have to run strands at the same time, they're like, yeah, okay.
So let's see. Yeah, so it's only 1 out of 5. So yeah, it's not like there's always going to be invader every map. So like if your map, so I'm assuming that the people who are
I
really
do think that you can be a little bit smart even with invasion, right? Because there are sextants that also affect just
invasion, right? That does
I think so. I think there's something with, or maybe maybe that was only the stones that did that. It could be that there was the stones that gave you like some currency.
Let's see, sextant mods PoE. Let's see what comes up. Cartographer sextant. Okay, I thought there'd be something on the wiki here with just the list of all the mods.
So how do you feel about? How do you actually feel about joining? Are you gonna go for, if possible, for a #1 spot on Gladiator? I think you're gonna be competing with Sis and maybe El Kaiser.
Oh, I mean, okay. I'm gonna sound like Phil Hellmuth, who's one of his poker player. For anyone who doesn't know, he's a poker player. He's won the most bracelets. He's won a lot of money. He says ridiculous. It's funny. I kind of hate him a little bit, but I can't be hypocritical in the sense. But there's times he says things that I could see myself saying, so I'm always like, oh god. But he says something like, a lot of times he'll be like, if luck didn't play a role, I'd win everything, which is so. But I mean, he has this very tiny point. But I when you asked me that, my brain went to, if the amount of time I could play the game didn't play a role, I would beat everyone. So, and that's like probably the most arrogant thing I've ever said. Mm-hmm. But if we could play, I don't know, 5 hours a day, I feel like I could beat anybody. That said, I can't, like straight up.
So and you don't think they could beat you as well at the same amount of time?
If people were restricted in the amount of time they could play, I think, well, if we were playing solo Southbound, I think it would come down to who found something better. If there's you found some truly amazing item, of course that's gonna that'll trump a lot of stuff, or maybe sextant luck or something. And there's a lot of factors that go into it. But no, even though I think Ziz is an incredible PoE player, taking Ziz for example, if it was a race, I think I'd beat him far more than he beat me, just by the fact that he dies a lot, even in times when I don't know. Now, but part of that, I do want to say, part of that is because he's doing things that other people can't do, right? Like, or a very small subset of people could do, which is pushing yourself, entertaining your stream 18 hours a day. I couldn't do that, right? So it's like a weird, that's why I'm saying it's not really a fair competition at all. He'll just crush me. Most things, because I just can't. I have other things I have to be doing. There's just no way to commit the time that he can. So yeah, I mean, I would never beat them ever. I think in a realistic setting, there'd never be a time. But if some of the things that were huge advantages for them were nullified, I think that I think. What
if they die? Would you give it a go? If you somehow find yourself in a position where it's up for grabs, would you then go a little bit? I mean, give it a little bit extra.
No, I it's appealing and I'd like to do it. I just know that realistically, let's just say I can dedicate 10 hours a day to it. I think that's really the upper, at this point in my life, that's just because I have all my real life work stuff going on. I have actually something in the fire, which, takes some time away. But so I do think that even in that scenario, where let's say I can do 10 hours a day, which I don't think I can. The fact that they can do the hours they do nullifies even that. Like, let's say we're both 90, or I'm 87 and they're 90, or something like that, and they die, right? So then I've got a real chance. I'm 87 levels ahead. I still think I would lose in the long run because they've already right.
Possibly.
How much of PoE's accumulating, right?
Yeah.
So your second character is always faster because you've saved your leveling gear and you have other stuff saved. And so maybe they already have generated some maps, which of course the initial climbing the map.
I'm thinking more like let's say we're like 5 days in or 7 days in, and they both die to freak things, and you're left at like 90. You're like maybe they were 96 and you were like 94, 95.
I guess I'd have to really seriously sit down and think about it. I still think at that point that's the thing though. I think the amount of time I can commit is so much less compared to other people that I'm never realistically in the running.
Okay.
And it's not even, and that's the thing about PoE. There's a lot of people who are very good at PoE who can also commit the time, and you need both of those things.
Sure.
And I just think that there's so many people who can commit the time that's really what it comes down to for something specifically like this. And I don't think that's not a criticism. That is what it is. I mean, I remember
is what it is. I had a long discussion today about whether or not it was how the whole thing should be structured, or should we only have X amount of hours a day to play, and should the thing be decided on play time. But every time you make or you take one of these suggestions, there's always going to be another thing that crops up where it's like, well, he's doing this and I don't want to partake in that specific way of playing either. And then there's just another way of looking at, well, here are all the faults with this game mode instead. And so,
sure. Yeah, no. I think you're exactly like I know that I had suggested. I was hoping at some point for a 1 week race where you can play. Your character can be, I don't know, whatever, 24 hours old or something, and that's it. So I mean,
that could be pretty cool though. I would like.
You could play 20. Yeah, you could play 24 hours straight. You could play 3 hours a day. You know, whatever. I like that idea as a concept, but it's not something to force on everybody.
It would still be you would still have people coming out saying, well, I can't do that 5 times, so my chances are like, because you can still retry, and then
absolutely no, and that's the thing. You have to go in accepting the fact that there is there's going to be so for instance, in that scenario that we just presented, you'd have a crafting character, or you'd have a trading character.
Oh, okay, like that. Well, wouldn't you have it solo self-found, so you only have one character to play, and you wouldn't be able to trade?
I guess that probably makes that better because, of course, if you just wait to make your character on the 6th day, there's more stuff available to trade. Yeah, so I mean, there's holes in this. This is not a fleshed out idea.
I will say though, on that idea, is that if you have something like this where you can't trade or you can't like accumulate up to something, anyone has an actual shot of winning if they can allot 24 hours, because your first one could be the best one ever. So you would actually, in a scenario like this, you would have a chance of winning, even though you couldn't redo it. In a scenario like this, right here, with 2 weeks, you have almost zero chance.
Zero. Like me today, do I have any chance to win? 0. 100% zero. Like
so
there is.
In that sense, I think it could be pretty cool because it gives more people a chance to actually win the thing.
Okay. Yeah.
So that would be kind of interesting.
But I also don't like the idea of taking away from what somebody has done, because I think all too often people dismiss something. You know what I mean? Like, so like Al Kaiser streaming 16 hours a day, or Ziz, or you, or Etup, or Havoc. I'm trying to think, I guess they can't stream in Australia, which is, but Gucci Steel and Yovu, they're playing like 20 hours a day. That is worthy of something. It's like the same thing with a race season. There were times when I would really want to be competitive, and I was going to bed for 4 hours because I would be getting up at 6 a.m. for the next race. And so, okay, that's dedication. Now, you can make the argument, well, people can't do it, but I'm sorry, that's for the same reason you're not an Olympic rower or something. They've made the dedication to do it, and whether that's it's under their control a bit. So I always like watching and seeing what's going on, because it's pretty incredible what they're doing. I still arrogantly think that where time was more equal, like let's say 8 hours a day, I think I would have a much better shot at that point. If it was a number like that was feasible, I would compete. Because I mean, old 1 week races were like 8 to 12 hours a day. They definitely were. I mean, that's what I played. So.
Well, Well, but there's less people competing. If you had, because I remember me and Dominion pushing one of them, and I pushed with Darnie as well, and we were playing 20 hours a day.
You're talking about the race that was the Anarchy Invasion one, right?
No, the Dominion
You were playing
one.
Firestorm. You're playing Firestorm.
Yeah,
That's
that
the
was
race
with Darnie. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
But previous to that as well, when I played with Dominion,
that was so far into I'm talking about like, yeah, I mean, I'm talking about a long time ago. There was a lot less people playing. I mean, I'm not equating it. I'm saying when it was doable to compete, playing 8 hours a day.
Oh, like okay, like that. Yeah. No,
that's what I mean.
There was definitely a segment that you could get up to a certain, like when you had like 20 slots for demis, you could definitely compete.
Right.
In one of those slots for sure.
In one of those slots. I mean, I never got first overall because the person first overall was playing 16 hours a day or whatever the hell. No. But I mean, because the objective was not, again, it was first page. It was first page, right? It was the demis or top 10 or whatever. And so I get, I think I got third through seventh, 7-8 times. But so, that's, but the thing is, I do personally find it very impressive, and there's a lot of people who manage to do it. That's, I don't know how you don't go insane on some level. I mean, I think you do. In all honesty, you do go insane. I mean, I remember your Christmas race. I always think of you. More or less lost your mind. You were a zombie. And yeah, okay. So I can't quite do that. I still really enjoy the competition. I really want to see if I can really push it, but I know that I'll fall off that moment. Like, let's say I did it tonight. I'd go to bed at 2 a.m. I got stuff I have to get up and do maybe tomorrow. And so,
you know what I would really like? I would like it if they added a little more incentive for, say, like the top 10 for every ascendancy. That would be, and there was like small prizes. Maybe not the big one, but like just something to just have a little race within the ascendancy class. So it's not just about getting number one in every one of them.
Yeah, and that's a very interesting sort of point, because PoE has for so long been such a binary thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, not to really, God, I think about the people who post feedback on our things and I laugh, but I could see someone being like, Moores always talks about himself. But okay, I've raced for a very long time, right? So racing is an incredibly binary thing. And I think that all too often people disregard things when there can be a great racer who gets second a bunch of times. You're a fucking great racer if you're getting second.
Yeah.
But it's, well, you didn't win a demi, so you're bad, when that's not the case. And so that's why I actually really always liked the 1 weeks, for the reason you're saying, Noogie, because you'd get fourth, but fourth was impressive, so you won a fucking demi. But like, you could get fifth overall right now in this race and get nothing.
Yes.
Because you're second in your ascendancy class. So you've shit on every other ascendancy class, and I understand some are better, and that's why we compete in the thing. But also at some level, it's not a short-term race where starting gems and starting skills and all these things really matter. It's a 2-week race, so it really shouldn't matter what you're doing. That's kind of the point of PoE. So I'm like surprised that it isn't like top 3 in each ascendancy class. Because in fact, if it was top 3 in each ascendancy class, that would be 21 demis. They've given out 20 demis before.
Sure.
In alt art demis. I don't think there's any problem with that. In fact, I think that would be fine. So I think
it would be interesting to see all the small like competitions in every single of the classes. It would be really like, can this guy hold his own? Like, will this guy push into number 3 or number 4, or like who gets pushed out? And
right. Well, look at the legacy race,
and it pushes the race a little bit further, because when number 1 win is done, then that entire class, okay, now we can forget about that.
Well, but so I think it's such a good point. Look at the legacy race. What was it, Saboteur? What did Havoc win the demi in whatever class he re-rolled? Okay,
yeah, he was competing against me. He was stealing my demi.
Okay.
I killed myself.
Then you died. Yeah. But then there was another shadow class that was up to the last minute.
Trickster.
Wasn't it?
Trickster was like up to, it was like 300k difference or something.
300K.
Which is
that was pretty
nothing.
thrilling. Yes, nothing. And can we just get back to a point we've made before? My God, can we please have the fucking in-game thing to follow? Like, imagine if that was going on and you could stream. You know what I mean? Like, you and I did an impromptu podcast where you're streaming both of their characters doing things, and we're commenting, we're talking about it.
Oh, that would be so cool.
That'd be a fucking event. That'd be an event.
Yeah.
Why? And the technology exists. Why are we not? Why? So yeah, I it's interesting. I think this does come back to a little bit that they, in fairness to them, they're focusing on 3.0. Totally get that. But how hard would it be to have a half-hour dialogue with somebody chosen to make some of these points? Because I mean, I know that since they changed it to 10 demis, the game, that's what's so bizarre to me. Back when I won some 1 week demis and you won some 1 week demis, what were there, 5,000, 10,000 people playing or some number? I don't know, whatever the number is. Now that's 6 times that, and they've halved the amount of demis at one point from 20 to 10. Now it's gone down 30% to where there's only 7. Yes, so we were getting less demis and there's more people playing. That's such a I do not understand. I don't understand that. Now I understand exclusivity. Sure, absolutely. This is a 2-week insane race. Handing out.
It doesn't have to be a demi. It can be some other cool thing, couldn't it? Like, does it have to be demis for X?
No.
Like this?
No. I mean,
so if they want to keep it exclusive, like there's other options for things they could give prizes for. Yeah,
that's true. I mean, I guess they want to do something as low cost as possible. So in that, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, like, okay, here we go. What if they did for the top 3 of each Ascendancy class, the person in first got an alt art, chest, shield, belt or something. I don't know. 3 things. Person in second place got 2 things. Person in third place got 1 thing. So like, okay, so you got you got a set of gear from being number 1 overall. So there's still something to it, or what, you know what I mean? There's things that I agree. There's just things they can do to make it super compelling. I guess I can hear the people being like, well, if they did that, then they'd be forced to play the race, and I don't want to play it. And like, oh God, all right, dude, just don't play it then. I mean, what does it matter? It's a fucking polygon thing on a computer.
Like, but then if he was so forced, then you've been forced every single season since they've ever introduced races. Why didn't you do all the races then? Since you were forced,
you're right.
It's just a silly argument.
It's so silly, but I see people say it, and I actually unfortunately think GGG does.
But it's because they want the thing.
Oh, of course, they want it with no effort.
Yeah,
that's what people always want.
Yeah,
I mean, I want it too. I'd love to expend no effort and get the Alt-Art Demi. That would be great. It'd be the greatest thing of all time. I mean, holy shit! But
I'd like to get one of those white carcass jacks, but I'm never getting one of those now. It's too late. Time's passed.
You are not. Time has passed. Unless I need a down payment on my house. Then
okay.
I mean, whoopsies! I gotta lock this thread. Yeah, but no, it's an interesting. I just think, well, so what do you think? Do you think that's something that they could use something like a little more of a dialogue with like how to make things more interesting for these races? Or do you think that they are I mean, it just feels like they're cutting.
Yes, I do think that for a long time they could have had a conversation with, I don't know, with someone
right.
I don't know if it's people within the community or if it's people they have to reach out to, or like in terms of creating better structure, better incentives. Like it seems to me that they've never really had. They had this initial system. They had the currency stuff, and then they went over to the old art, and then they've never really tried to improve on that. It feels like that's just our system, and we're okay with that.
And only one time with one time with MTX.
Yeah, and then the only thing they really do is they shift who gets the prize, and like now we're at the ascendancy stuff, but it's essentially the same thing. They just shifted it around a little bit, so there's nothing really going on with that. And like, I don't know. I think it's a lost opportunity. Whether or not they should reach out to people in the community, or they should reach out to people from, like, someone from other games that have other ideas, or other developers, or whatever they need to, like, there is something. When it comes to like racing and that kind of thing, I think an effort could be made to make something great.
Right. Well, I guess for me it would be, what is a low cost, high impact solution? Right. Because that's the problem. They could do something and it costs $100,000 or something, and it doesn't there's no benefit to them. So I buy that, why they don't necessarily want to design a new alternate art item for every race.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, I get that.
Right. So it's like, but so what are these low cost things? I mean, I still get back to, if I had to pick something, I actually think the spectating thing.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be great.
Especially if it works. Yeah. I really wish they would give that a try before they completely sell off doing sort of racing.
I can tell you right now, there will be a line of streamers just signed up to do stuff like that. Right. I can tell you that right now.
Right. Yeah, because people want, and it's when there's something you can actually tangibly watch easily, two people fight, whatever, then it's, fight for the demi, fight for first, whatever. Yeah, it'd be very compelling. Yeah, anyway, so just to circle back, that's the fact that it is only first place. I mean, I just don't think, there's just no way I could ever compete. You know what I mean? Like, and also I do think that people are better than me. I like looting.
That's a mistake. I like looking at things. Oh no.
When something cool happens, I'm like, ooh, that's pretty. I mean, I don't know, fuck me, right? It's a loot game and I like the loot. So, what are you, an idiot?
You need to go with the inverse colors on currency, and there's only 8 things you pick up. And then that's it.
Right. I mean, I like to loot transmutes. I mean, like I should get I should have a T-shirt. I loot transmutes or something. That's how slow I go. Anyway, there's all those things come together into the nice stew. Where, but I mean, solo self-found. I guess looting stuff is a little more okay, right? Picking up transmutes because you can't trade for ID scrolls. So
you need to be a little bit more cautious when you. How you generate your wisdoms. You can't just throw away all your transmutes, because at some point you're going to need them.
Right. What do you think is the hardest part about hardest thing about solo self-found in terms of achieving like a 6 link or finding a specific item, if it's a rare item, tier 1 like chavrons or whatever? Because I mean, I didn't understand. Carve found 7 chavs on his character that was to 100 that time.
I don't know, maybe then that was extremely lucky. That's not something that occurs. I don't what's the hard, I don't know, because that just comes down to luck. If you're giving a certain time frame, what is the hardest thing to find? I don't know, Headhunter, Skyforce,
right?
Are
I don't mean
just statistically the hardest, right? Because you're gonna see them the least, but that's not really a good measurement of what is difficult, because that's just luck.
Right.
Eventually it's gonna happen. There's no real difficulty in it as long as you just keep farming stuff. But
I mean, so then would you say then the difficult thing is you can't play the build you want to play in solo self-found a lot of the time?
Yeah, you're more limited. You're more limited. You have to be better to adapt. Right. Adapting and not making stupid choices, because you are what do you call it? Impatient. No, impatient. Oh, okay. I think impatience is one of the things that will kill you in a race. Because if you don't really appreciate how hard an X thing is, I get X amount of power by getting this specific thing done right now. What could it be like? I don't know.
Well, how about you want to do it Syrian, so you spec into dual totem, but you don't have any regrets.
Yes, that's a good point. Yeah. So I want this specific thing from Syria right now. I use all my regrets, and now I'm stuck there, and I haven't thought it ahead. So now I need to like start accumulating regrets again, and that's gonna like now I just wasted 5 hours doing that, and that sucked, and I just
right.
Or let's say you're going through the atlas, right? If you mess up your atlas, there are some maps you can't. It's basically impossible to find. And so now, if you do that early, let's say you don't get your cavern, I think it's cavern that you can't 3-1 with anything. And so if that's not unlocked early on, then you might actually be 100 and that map is still not unlocked, because you're never going to run that T2 or T4 adjacent to it. And even if you do run that, there's an equal chance of any of the other maps in that T3 slot that it can drop. So you might get a few T3 maps, but you might not ever find the cavern. And now you just you're 1% less on your atlas completion, meaning that now you're finding fewer maps and such, and it's just, it accumulates very late. But if you make a mistake early because you make that like decision, it might hurt you. And there's just small things like these happen all the time.
Right. So this jogged something interesting to talk about real quick. I saw someone say, what about randomizing the atlas every league?
Well, I would love that.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
I guess what's the pitfall of that? I guess the question is, so
they have to rearrange things. Things have a thematic. I think they have actually gone through some thematic approach where there's an idea behind where things are situated and how you progress through them. I'm not, or are they? I don't know. Like, isn't the visuals of the map also representative of the maps? I don't know, the atlas. Does where the maps are placed, is there like some visuals on the atlas?
I think that yes, I do think that part is true.
So they would have to then make a new picture, or like they would have to do that every single time, and there's obviously balance in there that they have to be wary of.
Right.
I think in the early stages of the sextanding, you could place so many sextants of a courtyard, for instance, and that was crazy.
Right.
Because that is a T15 shaped, and so you could sextant that multiple times, and so I like the idea. I do think that there are some deeper issues with it. Just so I don't think it's as easy, but I would like to see them do it.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's going to be rearranged a little bit, right, with 3.0. Maybe not. I don't know. We haven't seen.
No, I don't. Are there new tile sets coming in?
I thought so. There's got to be the winter tile set at least.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
But yeah. So I guess we'll have to see. I mean, it's interesting sort of problem where things just get ruined. Mm-hmm. Right. That's a natural part of. I don't mean that in like a whiny. I'm crying about it. Way. Something always is going to get ruined in a game like PoE.
Oh, sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the atlas is incredible. It makes me actually like mapping, and I kind of. Mapping's not my least favorite thing. It's not a favorite of mine to do, but it makes it tolerable for me. But then of course, like all these things, going from no atlas to we figured out something about the atlas to now there's nothing left to figure out, and you're running shore or strand or primordial pool. Even then though, like I come back to primordial pool. When did that actually become a thing that people were running? Was that legacy or late breach?
It was definitely breach.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, I think even before that.
Okay. But I mean, it's not like Strand, right? So it hasn't really percolated down to everybody.
No, but that's because it requires tons of investment.
Okay. So it's still not the best thing to do. It's only if you're ultra rich and you're trying to speed to 100 as fast as possible.
But even then, I'm not even sure it's the best. If you're speeding to 100, I think, because I saw who was the guy? The Adrian guy, I think.
The 24 hours to 100.
Yeah, but wasn't that in Shape Shore?
Oh, was that so Shape Shore? Yeah, I thought Shore was the best.
I think Shore is if you're speeding like that, I think Shore is better.
Okay. I wonder what his actual time invested it would be. That would be interested in to get that character. So yes, I understand that specific character was traversed, but he was either had every map rolled or he was logging off for things, or you know what I mean. Like the moment the map was done, he'd log off or whatever if he didn't have to do right away. So I'd be curious what all of the extraneous external
That
things.
would be a cool thing to see.
Cool thing. I mean, there's no way to know,
Yeah,
I guess,
yeah.
but I would just be curious to,
Yeah.
it was 3 weeks of preparation
Hmm.
to get that 24 hour. I mean, to me, that again, that's a really cool thing. I thought that was really cool. So it does highlight some of the stupidity of the system, but yeah.
Well,
I mean,
I don't know. Like, as long as the thing is, this is a temporary thing, and it's enabled by the stones as well.
true. That's true.
Right?
That's true.
And I kind of hesitate calling things like these stupid, and because
Well, what skill was he playing? Do we know what skill he was playing?
I think he was playing EK Nova.
Okay.
Like, obviously there's like a lot in Headhunter and everything, right? It accumulates into this one thing, but I think we tend to view all these things a little bit too negatively.
Okay. That's fair.
Because these are only things that occur for X amount of time. And to the point we had earlier as well with, well, we have all these exploits, but they're gone next league.
True. That's true.
Right? So we push ourselves as far as we can get. Okay, we hit that. And then in the spirit of PoE, well, and then we're back to square one. And we try again.
That's that's a good point. So you're right. I was definitely being a little negative. That's a very, very good point. I think the only small way I would disagree with what you said is because of the way they've designed legacy things, some things never die. I wish Headhunter did not exist.
Yeah.
I truly, because
it will
for
be
me,
in a weakened state though.
Okay.
At least for you won't have the CI Headhunter stuff happening because without Volpack, with Accurities, maybe.
I guess, maybe.
No, that doesn't work either. So no, you won't have that.
No, but so I think the thing is, I would rather all uniques drop always in some, you know what I mean, without doing special bullshit. Because I actually hated it when they would take uniques away, especially if they weren't really powerful, but I was doing something cool with them. And now I can't anymore. I'm like, okay, that's dumb. I guess, I don't know, they're obsessed with the whole magic legacy card crap, but the thing is, yet you can get them in the current league. So to me, it's actually not the way Magic. I don't know. So I just wish that they.
But league zones are going out though, completely.
Fine, that's
fine. So we won't have this insanity anymore.
But you could still get the uniques, which I think are the bigger problem in some respect of some of that stuff. I mean, I guess it'll be harder to get a Hunter because you have to do Xana again, but I don't know.
Oh, it's going to be much harder.
Right. Or more expensive. Because how often did it, if people were just running, if people were running Xana maps, how often would it drop? I guess I don't know. I'd be curious to know what the drop rate was. Like how many people like me had it actually drop?
Well, when I say harder as well, I think about the total accumulation of Headhunters during a league to where you could trade yourself to one as well. Because you don't have the random people just finding them in the Nemesis map.
Right, exactly. Let's see here. Headhunter, I'm curious right now. There are, this is online. Whoops. There are 15 for sale in Hardcore Legacy. So I wonder, that seems like that's a lot. I seem to remember usually there's 3 to 4 each league for sale, roughly. I would have if I had to say.
Yeah, at any given time,
Yeah. Let's see what Legacy has. Do they have 99? Over 99 for sale.
Yeah.
30K. Okay, that's a mislist.
No.
All right. It's someone. They're almost all of them are up for mirrors, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever. Who knows? Oh, here we go. 78X. Okay. So, I mean, God, don't get me started about the trade fucking system right now.
No, but let's not go into that right now.
Let's not go into that. Yeah, so I guess the thing is, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm of two minds. I like that you can get the stuff. I just wish that I'd rather the Headhunter be less powerful. Capped 5 mobs or something. Right, five rares you've taken the mods of, and it drops a little more frequently, and it's not hidden behind all this stuff. But I guess that's because I still wish we had different unique structure in Path of Exile.
Mm-hmm.
I do not like the fact that
I do think Headhunter specifically is problematic, especially in the race sense, with how much power it provides you in the.
Right. I mean, I guess someone finding in this, if you do solo self-found, if you find that inspired learning jewel, GG. There you go. There's another thing that's going to be super sweet for you. So
yeah.
Although how much of the power of those things will be nerfed, like you're saying, with Volpact being gone, you're not going to be able to.
Definitely going to be way more dangerous to run.
Right. You can't just lull through the map like you.
No,
can
there's a lot more issues with it. It provides all of a sudden. When it was introduced in Nemesis as well, it was a dangerous thing to run because Reflect Aura was a thing. There were so many other things to stop you, to where when you got all this power, you just couldn't survive it. You just couldn't survive it. It was just too much.
And Volatile and Shroudwalker, and you'd fucking shroud into a Volatile, and you would, because that Volatiles were insane in Nemesis. So
I played one map with a Headhunter guy, and I just said, I'm never playing with you again. Because he got the sub fit. Like, I was playing a Wander, I think, and a Fist Wander. And no.
Oh, I remember. No. You were playing. This was in Nemesis?
Yes. I
Mm.
played different builds. I don't remember I was playing something physical, and he got Sub-Fist Aura, and I got the Aura, and I shot into Reflect, and I nearly died.
Yes. I think I remember that happen. I'm trying to remember what build, because you played Blue Incinerate that league too. What else did you
think? So I played Ball Lightning as well in that league. I don't remember what I started out with. I played a few builds, and then I died to Crash in DCs and
the Blue Crash, right, with the one skeleton killing you in that map. You could see it walking over to you as your computer, I think, blue screened, as I recall. That was a different one. But yeah, anyways.
Okay.
Anyways, yeah. So I guess maybe it's too early to judge some of something like that. I still go back to I just personally just wish some of these uniques were just toned down a little bit, and then rares were more important. But again, that's just my bet. That's not, other people disagree with me, and so that's okay. That's fine. What was there another unique like Headhunter that's as problematic?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, does seem like that's pretty much the only one.
It's really the at this stage it has gotten to
because of the state of the game, though.
Yeah. No, it's because the game has changed so much. It's enabled this play style,
right?
That you couldn't really justify before. It was very difficult to really get full potential out of it before, because it posed so much of a danger to yourself and your character running it.
Yeah, right. And I think the best
we got much faster, and we got more tools to like create Nemesis on monsters, like create more rares, create more sextants. Like there's so many things that kind of cascade with the entire, like when Headhunter is there in the beginning, where you go kind of slow. Like we all remember E-Top and fighting the crabs, and it took forever. And like, that was the state of the game back then. And Headhunter wasn't a problem, because the mod was nice because you did more damage to rares, and rares took forever, and so that was okay. Because you could only get like 5 buffs. Then there was like a few builds that could do. What was that?
Shatter Check.
Yeah, it's probably stuff like that in Cast and Crit, right? Where you would go through the what was the map called?
Plateau.
Yeah, Plateau. Because I remember seeing Headhunter being used in Plateau. It's like insane.
To me, that was that Shatter Chuck video that was put ever. I mean, most people back then saw it. Mm-hmm. I just remember being like, "Welp."
Yeah,
this fucking bullshit. But again, at that particular point, it was like 1,000x worth of gear. So I was like, no, all right, I mean, come on, like whatever. Like, but now it's like you only need the one item, and it's nowhere near as expensive. So man, can I just say that I think it's the Crab Top League, or that character where wasn't he Spectral Throw 2-handed? Well, he did a Spectral Throw 2-hander. And he had he had a pile driver, which is the top. That's the top sledgehammer, the fast.
Yeah.
It was. I just remember being it's just so fun. But I mean, this is where I wish the game was. I remember looking at that. I don't remember if he bought it and then exalted, or maybe he bought it completed. It was so at the time. It was like a 545 DPS two-hander, and at the time max was like 650 for physical two-handers.
Yeah.
So and of course his was not the best base for the top DPS. Well, whatever. And I just remember being like, wow. For the first time ever, I'm thinking that I want to get a mirror to maybe mirror his mace. And I feel like I haven't. That's something I really wish was still around a little bit. I don't know. Anyway, I know we're just. I just think about how I wish mirrors were a little more common, so there was something people were doing a little. They saw a really cool rare and they're like, okay, it's going to cost me 9x to copy that or whatever. So, but I guess I don't know, more economics. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think that he had this insane two-hander and he was fucking taking forever to kill everything because it's just.
It was just PoE at that point.
That was PoE at that point. Yeah. What do you think is going to be the number one, not person, but like build for this 2-week race? Do you think it's going to be Vol Fireball?
I think Flame Blast Totem is good enough. Flame Blast Totem into maybe Vol Fireball if you get the tools. It's like obviously Vol Fireball is the strongest. If you want XP.
Right. It seems like Vol Fireball. Can you die to Reflect on Vol Fireball?
Not if you play Elementalist.
Right. But you can still die to Reflect on Spark?
Everything else. Spark? No. If you play Elementalist, you can't die to any Reflect. Because you use the ring, you use the node, and you use the... So you have 100% immunity.
That's right.
And so some of these, like, you might see number 1 Inquisitor going Vol Fireball, clicking, and he doesn't see the invasion boss, and he's dead. Because there's the Reflect invasion boss.
Right.
And that's, I think that's pretty high on the number. Well, maybe you have to be in a minus max or something. I don't know. Like, maybe you're a little sleep deprived. You don't really think. And there's like that guy who can fuck your day.
Right. But is it easier to get Vol Fireball going versus Vol Spark? Or is it?
You see that? I don't know. I would say, so Vol Spark needs, what's that ring called? Call of the Brotherhood. You can use a Chill Corruption, right? So you have that option, which is powerful. So, but Volt Spark was nerfed a lot, so you need more things to get it really rolling. I don't know. I actually don't know whether or not. I just don't. The only thing I really know is that Volt Fireball is the better spec in the end.
Okay.
That's
right. Yeah, it's just interesting to see. I'm interested to see what ends up being the something new emerges. I do
think that there are other builds can compete as well. I think if you get lucky with like the Frostbolt duels and stuff like that, it actually has really good clear speed, unlike an Inquisitor, because it just keeps like if you're good at like doing the whole thing and all that, you have good gear. I think you're probably going as fast as totems on Inquisitor, honestly.
Yeah.
I think then doing proper sextending and mapping and investing on your time, right? I think Havoc is playing Inquisitor, and I don't think it really matters whether or not he plays Flame Blast Totems or he plays Frostbolt, or he's still going to compete for number 1. And I think anyone who's good will keep competing. I think if you get Vol Fireball rolling, then nobody can really keep up though with that, unless you're that as well.
Right. Well, Dr. Bagel was for Legacy was Elementalist EA. Seemed absurd.
That
pretty
should be
absurd.
Very good as well.
Yeah, especially because it was really good at farming Breach.
Yeah, it's true.
I think that's something where
that totems could suffer a little bit in there.
Yes, I feel like totems are always that's sort of
Though people have done a good the right thing to do with stuff like that is getting a spire of stone on top, so your totems don't get stunned all the time, for instance. I think some things that could be a little bit underappreciated when it comes to that, like maybe getting some totem elemental resist. Like, it doesn't take much, but all of a sudden your totems can handle like twice as much damage before they die, and that factors in a lot.
Well, that jewel. I don't know if people know this. I mean, I guess you have to tell me what exactly your 6 link was, but minion and totem, elemental totem resist
gives you more damage as well.
now gives you 22 or 23% more damage when I think at 20. That's not that far away from, and there's no negative to it.
No.
That's the key part. At least because when I still have a goal of making the ultimate burn golem build work. I have to try to do it in standard before 3.0 happens. But I mean, that's like such a good, even though it's less than control destruction or whatever, but there's no negative associated with it. You don't lose the crit, you don't use the status elements, of course, which you can't anyway. But yeah, so it's a really, I'd be curious what your fifth.
I think especially if you're playing Inquisitor, especially, I think the gem is good because you don't need any pen gems. So I feel like you don't really have a good 6-link, not a very strong one on totems at least, to where that gem is actually really powerful.
Right.
And so depending on what class you are, there is like, I think on Inquisitor you have a little bit more leeway because it's harder to find that last gem slot, I think. And it's a more multiplier, so your burns are still going to be good.
Right. Yeah, you know what is the least played class? Some Shadow or Ascendant?
Hierophant.
Oh, Hierophant. Which one's Hierophant? Is that the one with the
totems
support?
And the MOM and the...
Oh, totems MOM one. Yeah. That's right, because is it Guardian the one that has block and then the auras on it?
Yes. That's in this race could also be... I think it's tough because there's those two and then Juggernaut as well. But Juggernaut is probably defensive enough to where people can see an upside, especially in a very hard race like this. So
yes.
Yeah. But Guardian and Hierophant are probably going to be not very heavily contested.
Right.
And what else?
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Trickster has fallen out of favor a lot, but
which one's Trickster? Is Trickster the movement speed, mana, or whatever?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Okay.
It is.
Can we get back to that? I have to open up Path of Building or something to look at an easy place to see all the ascendancies in one spot.
Nice. Dude.
How is it not on the tree? How can I not open Path of Exile itself?
Yeah.
Hit P or something and be able to look at
the same thing with like the ladders and how they're presented and the fact you can't see, like they have a race where everything is structured within, or you're competing against your class but you can only see the top 10.
Right. People have been asking for that for a long time too.
I think this in terms of PoE, I would call like this is they're still in the Stone Age when it comes to some of these things.
Yeah.
It's they might be in the future and on Mars when it comes to the Atlas and everything, but they really haven't evolved.
It's such a bizarre thing that I cannot look at ascendancies. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I opened Path of Building so I could take a look right now. I see if there's anything that strikes me as something that's going to be. Yeah, but I think we've talked about all of them at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's that's pretty much it. Solo Self-Found Mayhem Insanity. Here we go.
Can we get some bold predictions on who's gonna win?
Oh God. Okay. So we're talking about who's going to win Solo Self-Found?
First overall?
First overall. Who would win Solo Self-Found first overall if I had to be a betting... Oh, God. I think it's impossible. I'm going to say Raze.
You think Raze?
I'm going to say Raze. Because...
You just jinxed him, I think.
I
think he's dead. I think now it's done.
Raze has died. Number 1 overall, level 56.
No, I think it's going to be Raze's dies, number 1 overall, level 97.
88. I'm going 88.
88?
Raze has died, level 88.
I think he's going to do at least mid-90s and he's going to die.
No, I think he's going to die at 88 and re-roll and then die in the 90s.
Okay.
That's his track record. Be back in like 3rd or something. I don't know. Who do you think? Before I say something. Yeah. Can't pick yourself.
If Rise can survive, he's definitely gonna be in the top for a long time. I've never seen him actually push in the last 97 to 100 against anyone. And so I don't really have any good way of like I don't think I don't think he has the best track record of managing his. Maybe he does.
That's like that's the doldrums section of PoE where you're like, oh, at least for me, kill me.
Havoc definitely stands a good chance.
Sure. I mean, but the thing is, that's the same thing.
Kaiser will do the like the slow and steady gladiator wins the race. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, no, I would say based on what I've seen of him playing, since he gets his highlights on Reddit all the time, he probably, if I had to guess what he would be playing, he'd be playing a two-handed build for this race, not a gladiator.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's probably too hard to to get some of the tools, but I don't know. I could see him swapping into the gladiator he ran in Breach. Wasn't that Breach?
I mean, maybe
because there's so many Breach uniques, so it's not impossible to get the
surrender.
Yeah, surrender and the neck, and there's some other things you need for that. So
sure,
I could see that build being pulled out.
He did have a lot that was like the Sunder character that I made, with Headhunter and all this shit. It's like tough. That's so much tougher I think if you really want to seriously compete. I guess you're right. You would, if you actually got some of the things, your character would become insane at that point.
Yeah, you start out with Sunder, and then you just respec into the tools that you find. That's the kind of thing. And
yeah.
Who else
I do feel like we're just listing people who play solo self-found and are known for doing. It's like there's no real. I feel like with PoE, there's no way to predict, right? Because it's so. I don't know. Your internet poops out and you die.
Yeah, it's true.
There's just so many things that, especially in solo stuff on hardcore, that I don't know. I'm very excited to see.
Oh, there's also Sis, right? Yes, I actually don't know how good he is at solo self-found. Have you ever seen him play solo self-found?
Nope, I don't think so. So
he's like a wild card. He's a wild card. Sure. I do know that he. I think he's definitely improved in understanding everything PoE. From when I remember his first push to 100, he's gotten a lot better in terms of just playing correctly. He does sleep.
Well, I mean, he
does do some stupid things every now and then.
I think I think because everyone does, and if you streamed yourself 18 hours a day,
I do the same myself. So.
I do think that it's just tough for someone like that to, when you're streaming 18 hours a day, there's going to be something stupid that happens. It's just inevitable. And I think that the best thing that he does is he does really seem to get the optimal speed to go 1,000 miles an hour. Mm-hmm. That's like the best thing he's good at.
Carve is a good little throw in
for solo. For solo self-found, yeah. I mean, I actually think he might be someone. If I had to pick
I know that favorite, if you could,
I think if I had to pick a favorite, he would be in that pool of people I think who have an edge. Carve, Steel. I mean, I think Ray's has an edge. He's played a lot of solo self-found.
He definitely has an edge. Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So I don't think it means that they're the number one or the favorite. I just think they have an edge from doing it.
I will say, among I don't know. Maybe there's gonna be a guy or two out there who's gonna impress. I do think the winner is actually gonna be from the pool of the people we know already.
Seems like it almost always has been.
Yeah. Historically, it's been like that. So I don't see that really changing. I do think it's gonna be very interesting, and I think there's gonna be a really good race coming. I think there's a lot of people who can take it, depending on. Lock and everything, because you do lock yourself into a certain class, right? There's certain items you have to find, and there's a lot of things that makes it interesting, and anything can change just like that. Imagine someone finds a headhunter. Oh my god, everything just changes.
Drama.
You can be 97 and the other guy is 98, and they get a level behind, and you can still catch up.
Wait, if you found the headhunter, I'm sure you would just start going up so fast. Oh my god!
Well, but then you die.
It was so insane. Yeah, then you die. Yeah. I mean, even on my Sunder block guy with a headhunter, sometimes if I got that first mob like a headhunter race, right? The short 2-hour race, just blow through the street. I could kill things with faster attacks, shield charge, fortify with one-shot packs.
Yeah.
Okay,
Kind of
like
ridiculous.
all right. So I mean, that's a little absurd when you get down to it. I mean, killing. We're talking about sextant rolled 3 stone maps, and I blow up a pack with shield charge.
I feel like we're gonna take some flack for forgetting people here now. I've probably forgotten someone.
Oh, well, it's never on purpose. If we forgot somebody, it's we just didn't think of them. Yeah. I mean, Steel has won the last several solo self-found things, or Carve, right?
One of the two of them. You mean one or two? Has there been several?
I thought there were 3 solo self-found things.
Like there was the one we set up, and Steel was the one who he got that one.
You're talking about the one that was set up by Havoc, right? Or
yeah,
no,
I do think.
And Steel won that.
It's a hard one to judge though, because I think a lot of people just stopped playing.
Fine. But so Steel won that. He won the actual, the official.
One. Yes.
Right, the official solo's the first time there's a league, right? So
I do think this one is gonna be. If he could, I wish he competed in this one, because everyone who normally plays in the regular league, or not everyone, but a lot of the regular from the other leagues are participating. I do think that Steel, from having the experience of playing solo self-found, has an edge. I think players who have already done a full Atlas setup, solo self-found, will have a good edge.
Yeah. Again, then it just comes down to, is it interesting for you at that point? I think maybe he's busy, maybe it's still interesting for him. I know for me, personally, at some point, it's like a Malachi kill race. Like, that was interesting for a little bit. I almost never want to do one of those races again. Because it's just, I know we know everything that, like, especially for how intricate setting up the Atlas and doing all the solo stuff and stuff. And for someone like Steel, which I think doesn't apply to me in a Wonder race, but applies to me in short-term racing, there is an optimal way to play. Period. End of story. Doesn't matter. Yeah. So, like, if I'm playing Marauder, I'm doing the same exact thing. Of course, that's part of being good at something, is doing it over and over again. But I can see him being like, well, I've won 2 of these. I set up my Atlas. I just don't, until there's a new meta. I'm not interested, because he doesn't want to play Vol Fireball or whatever.
Well, now is the time to prove that he can beat everyone
with Vol Fireball, because to me the time to prove it is the next time there's solo self-found in 3.0. If he does it there, then we're talking about some real. Because to me, okay,
I don't know. I just look at the line. I just look at the amount of good racers playing this one particular 2-week, and it seems like there's a bigger representation this time around than there's been in previous ones, which makes it kind of exciting to me, at least. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited. I know that at some point I will be more a spectator than a participant, but I mean, I'm excited for it too. I had a lot of fun when I was doing my work last week. When was the Legacy League? I don't know. Whenever, well, I guess it was 2 weeks ago. Yeah, 2 weeks ago when the Legacy 1 week race was going on, and I had done my little bit. And then
it started 2 weeks ago.
Started 2 weeks. No, and it ended 2 weeks ago.
No, it ended.
It
ended this weekend.
It ended last Saturday, right? So.
Yeah, so that's a week ago.
Right, a week ago. So yeah, so the race itself was occurring 2 weeks ago.
It started 2 weeks ago.
Right. Okay. So, 1.5 weeks ago, when I ended up watching between Ziz stream, your stream, Havoc stream, who else?
Rise?
Did I rotate? Yeah, Rise. It was like 4 or 5 streams I rotated to. Though I mean, you could see why Ziz has a big following, because a lot of times I would check in and there might only have been Ziz streaming, or what, you know what I mean? Like, he was almost always streaming along with 1 or 2 other people who were streaming. And it was just so funny to cycle through and see all the stuff's going on, conversations, what's going on with Belton, et cetera, et cetera. And it was really entertaining. And I know we're beating it to death, but God, I wish there was some sort of fucking spectator thing. I really think it would be. I mean, again, I don't think they should spend money to design something at this point. because it's unknown. We don't know. Maybe it wouldn't be popular. But the thing that since the tech exists, like I don't know. I wish I knew what would it cost them to make it work so you could observe somebody out running around. Because I mean, I do think there would be a lot more. There would be some interesting thing going on every day with it that people would be interested in. But maybe it's, I don't know. Maybe it would only be for people who are already heavily invested in PoE, and that's not who GGG cares about at this point in terms of that. They care about attracting new people, but maybe there'd be somebody who'd be like, "Oh wow, look at there's these teams." I mean, Chris said it, and I know for me it was a big deal. The Rust Barb Gerbarb thing in D2 at the time was such a fucking cool thing.
Yes,
like there are so many people. I think you
that's
have to
kind of what
more...
we had though. Like the last the Steel versus Is.
Yes, it was Rust Barb Gerbarb.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, that was, and like that is. I mean, that's people like that shit. So
yeah. Anyway. That's also why the whole. The only thing we haven't really covered is the. Well, there's probably a few things, but like the race without the economists, right? Because the
solo self-found,
yeah, because like all the focus on the solo self-found now. What about the actual regular? Because we haven't talked about that. Do we know who's playing there?
No, not offhand.
Oh, that's gonna be pretty interesting to see.
Should be somebody playing. Yeah, I mean, I bet you there's gonna be a Reddit post about look what I have, and there'll be somebody with some crazy set of gear 2 or 3 days in. I mean, it's interesting because part of me, if this race had been occurring earlier in Legacy, but I guess this is voided. Yeah, see, like this. See, that's interesting. That's why even though I wish I could keep the character, which I guess you can, but you can never log into it. I don't care about the currency, but if it wasn't voided, it would be so tough for me to not play the regular thing so I could see how much I can accumulate because I love doing the trading thing. But then since it is voided, it's like, well, might as well play solo self-found and just, see what can happen. I don't know. I feel like there's going to be...
There's less of an incentive of just accumulating wealth here that you can then carry over. That's true.
Carry it over. So I wonder if that means more people are going to play solo self-found than
possibly
in the past. I don't think more than the regular league. I think people will just...
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, it's an interesting sort of concept. Yeah, I'm assuming there'll be just one team. There'll be a team of some people that we may or may not know, and they'll be at the top of the ladder, and that's what'll be going on. That's what always happens in some sense, right? So for the regular race, I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's a contender. I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so too. Well, 40 minutes to go, right?
Yes.
Oh boy. Well, I wish you luck.
Thank you, Morris.
Out there in the fields of solo selfdom.
And I wish you luck on your...
No, I don't need luck. I need let me think, what do I need? I need motivation, I think. Or I need stamina, or I need...
say luck gives motivation.
That's true. If I found something really cool, that would change my perspective real quick. So
that's how it goes.
Can I tell you what's going to happen to me? I'm going to predict it right now. For the first time in a long time, I'm not going to play the Golem character because I've been loving the Golem character. I'm going to find a Primordial Might on this character. No, and then I will seriously uninstall PoE. I'll never play PoE again if that happens.
Okay.
In the first 24 hours. If I find it later, I don't care. But I've never found one, so that's what's going to happen. I already can feel it. I can feel it coming because that's how it works for me. I find the thing I don't need that's really valuable on when I'm not doing the thing that it works for. So, like finding Headhunter when I was initially going to play a melee character, and Hellman convinced me that I would be worthless. They would just be carrying me the first 2 days or something, which was true, I think, because the first 2 days of Legacy was the most insane, just shit everywhere and fucking no one knew what was good and we're just throwing in stones and doing crazy unique maps and shit everywhere. So I wouldn't have been doing anything on a melee character. But then I found a Headhunter and it was completely worthless because I was playing the Golem guy. Even though the Golem character, your Golems killing the rares buffs you. Yeah. But you don't buff your Golems. And that to me is bullshit. Because they do purely fire. So if they did if the golems did fizz damage, fire golems did fizz damage or something, then it would have been insane.
Yeah.
I would have been going, but I think only, what's the spell? What's the summoner? God, spectral.
No, summon raging spirits. SRS. That's what you're thinking.
SRS. Yes, SRS apparently is buffed to.
No, that's really good with that.
With that, yeah. So anyway, well, I will see you out there, good sir.
Yes, I'll see you too.
Before we stop, even if you stop recording, it's okay. People can, don't forget, subscribe to Coffee Talk, thecoffeetalkpodcast.com. You can subscribe, iTunes, Android, whatever, and then you never have to go back there, whatever. It'll just appear in your feed if you care about that. And then, of course, it's on Noogie's YouTube, which is
YouTube/nugiyen.
Yes. And I'm trying to think if there's any other announcements we have to make. Probably back to the regular scheduled time next week, right? You would say, Noogie?
Yeah, though I will be obviously kind of strung out, so it might be.
So
maybe we have a long episode here. Maybe it's going to be a little shorter.
Yeah. So let's play it a little. Let's play it a little by ear.
Okay.
If you're interested in what's going to be going on with the Coffee Talk podcast, check out Noogie's stream. I think he's a much more of a sure bet than I am. Sometime late this week, Thursday, Friday, and there'll be something there. Is that okay for you to do, Noogie? Like have a little.
That's fine.
Okay. So there'll be something there saying what's going on.
Yeah.
Either it's pushed or it's off, or we're gonna do it on Tuesday. Let's not make a call because if Noogie's
I'm okay with doing it Sunday. That's fine.
Okay. But it just might be a short episode, half hour, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Fine. So we'll plan on that then. Okay. Thanks, everybody.